American criminal, kidnapper, and serial rapist Robert Carl Hohenberger, who was born in 1943, would be the main suspect in a series of teen murders that took place in Morgan City, Louisiana, between March and May 1978. Hohenberger was placed on a national wanted list when the FBI was summoned in to look into the deaths, but he committed suicide before being apprehended. In this episode, I will try to break down the true story of Robert Carl Hohenberger. To get to know who Robert Carl Hohenberger was, let's dig a bit into his background leading up to his arrests. About Hohenberger's early years, little is known. Although it is known that he was born in Indiana in 1943, his family relocated to Riverside County, California, a few years after his birth. After meeting the local sheriff in the middle of the 1960s, Robert volunteered and took an unpaid position as an auxiliary police officer. An auxiliary police is, also called special police, are usually the part-time reserves of a regular police force. They may be armed or unarmed. They may be unpaid volunteers or paid members of the police service with which they are affiliated. The police powers auxiliary units may exercise vary from agency to agency. Some have no or limited authority, while others may be accorded full police powers. Robert's responsibilities included keeping an eye on the maintenance of public order and the safeguarding of citizen rights while he was not working at his primary job. He started attacking young girls and women while acting in his official capacity. He was detained in 1966 on suspicion of attacking a woman he had raped under gunpoint. Although Hohenberger was found guilty, several charges were later dismissed as part of a plea agreement, with the justification that the two parties had made amends. 2 years after his release, he relocated to Orange County from Riverside County. He was once more detained in Laguna Beach in 1971 for kidnapping 2 females at gunpoint. He was convicted of the crime and given a life sentence with the option of parole in 6 months. Hohenberger was assigned to the San Quentin State Prison to serve out his term, and by 1974, after establishing himself as a model inmate, he was moved to a cell with less security. He escaped from the prison on April 12, 1974. He then kidnapped Richard Dubois and his wife Victoria, forcing them to drive him to Modesto, where a friend of his lived. Robert asked that the hostages accompany him to Los Banos after being unable to find the residence. Dubois and his wife were able to escape and report the event to the police while filling up the car at a gas station near to the I-5. A few hours later, Hohenberger was apprehended and extradited to Marin County, where he was convicted of escaping. He received yet another parole in August 1977 and returned to Riverside County, where he started committing crimes once more as a result of financial issues. He kidnapped a female from Palm Desert in October of that same year and battered and sexually assaulted her. Having survived, the victim called the police to report the assault. Hohenberger was placed on a national wanted list after the victim recognized him as the culprit in the months that followed after being shown several mugshots of sex offenders. In January 1978, after becoming aware of this, Robert left California and was able to avoid being apprehended by law enforcement. During the same month, Hohenberger visited Louisiana. He stayed in the small community of Bayou Vista, where he was able to get employment and housing with the welding equipment provider R&M Service Inc. under the alias Frank Henry Green. Hohenberger frequently spent his free time in the nearby community of Morgan City, where 5 youths inexplicably vanished from the area during the same time frame. Before we go any further, I have to mention it was reported that 2 teenaged girls went missing and reported as runaways on the 15th of May 1978. The 2 girls named Judy Adams, 15 years old, and Bertha Gould, 14 years old, were last seen 11:30 p.m. in the vicinity of the Central Catholic High School fair at the Municipal Auditorium in Morgan City. Police Chief Randy Ratcliffe also commented that there were rumors concerning the kidnapping of one named Mary Leah Roderman of Morgan City in March. He said all rumors are just that, rumors, and that his department has checked out all reports, and have found them erroneous. Getting back to Hohenberger's story, Mary Leah Rodermond, 16, was the first person to go missing. She vanished on March 2 after going shopping. The abductor called the girl's parents a few hours after she vanished and demanded $5,000 as ransom. Mary was given permission to call her parents in order to verify her kidnapping, which the man used as evidence to support his accusations. After the Rodermonds contacted the police, neither Mary nor her kidnapper could be found. Following a robbery at a business in Morgan City on April 27, Gordon Mark Connella, 17, and Bridget Cantrell's sons, 19, went missing. The cops discovered the missing girl's handbag and an unlit cigarette while searching the area. In the parking lot, a car and a carton of cigarettes were discovered. Judy Adams, 15, and Bertha Gould, 14, vanished on May 11 after attending a fair close to Central Catholic High School in Morgan City. At first, both girls were thought to be runaways, but additional inquiry revealed that just before going missing, they had boarded a car being driven by an unknown white male. The individual was recognized by the police as Frank Green after looking at the license plate of the car, and his true identity was discovered after having his fingerprints examined. Sidney Harris, a 38-year-old neighbor of Hohenberger, was questioned by police as part of their inquiry. Sidney later got in touch with Robert and informed him of the approaching arrest, allowing him the chance to escape. Following his arrest, Harris was given a charge of harboring a fugitive. The deaths of two bound girls with evidence of abuse and strangling were discovered on May 26 in the sewage system of Bayou Vista, not far from Hohenberger's place of employment. They were later identified as Judy Adams and Bridget's sons. The body of Gordon Connella was discovered the following day in a field outside of the city. His neck had been strangled by a rope that had been knotted around it. Following that, the police started a search operation with the help of many law enforcement agencies and volunteers who looked in abandoned buildings, fields, forests, and sewers in an effort to uncover the bodies of other missing youngsters. Divers assisted in the investigation of adjacent rivers and local marshes, but the endeavor was unsuccessful. Robert Hohenberger was nonetheless added to a wanted list. Bertha Gould's body was never found. On May 31, 1978, in Tacoma, Washington, police found Hohenberger after he attempted to sell a stolen vehicle. He aggressively fought being taken into custody by 4 plainclothes law enforcement officers, pulling a .22 caliber revolver and shooting himself in the head. After being transported to the St. Joseph Medical Center, he underwent brain surgery, but the same day, complications caused him to pass suddenly a few hours later. Later, it was determined that the incident was a suicide. Hohenberger had been in Tacoma since May 23 and was using the pseudonym of Frank Harris to hunt for jobs. It was discovered over the course of the investigation into his activities. His rented flat was searched, and a 12-gauge shotgun and many knives were discovered there. Due to this, Hohenberger was one of the suspects in the abduction murders of 3 additional children, whose killers used a similar method of operation. In early 1978, 2 teenagers were discovered shot to death with a .22 pistol in Boca Raton, Florida, along with a 3rd child who had been kidnapped from Cartersville, Georgia. Hohenberger wasn't connected to the Boca Raton murders, according to a forensic ballistics analysis of his gun and shot casings discovered at the crime site. On November 20, 2020, a user at websleuths.com posted this picture of Bertha Gould. Although I'm not sure this is her, but what do you think? Do you think this is her? I will leave a link in the description of that particular post. To sum it all up, there are 2 persons' bodies that were never found, the bodies of Bertha Gould and Mary Leah Rodermond. Robert was a coward in life and is still a coward in death, leaving so much unanswered questions. The biggest question will always be, why? Why? If you guys found this video helpful, please do not hesitate to hit the like button below this video. If you want updates to when I post a new video, please subscribe and you will be blessed in abundance.